About 4 months ago, I decided to start my own AI automations agency, and since June until today, I was able to grow it to $15,000 per month in revenue at the age of 22 years old, selling AI and Make.com automations to businesses. And in this video, I want to transfer to you the skills that I've learned when it comes to using AI and Make.com to successfully sell these automations. But before I dive into the topic of today's video, I want to first tell you a quick story. So about 3 years ago, I was running this agency called Sales on Demand, and I was offering appointment setting and closing services to businesses, basically building appointment setting teams, closing teams, managing them and whatnot. And I remember I have paid $5,000 for a coaching program from a guy named Trey Cockram. He's a YouTube influencer. He used to be in the agency space. You can check him out if you want. Maybe some of you know him already. And in his community, I met a guy who ran this automations agency, and that was 3 years ago, guys. ChatGPT wasn't around. AI wasn't like a big thing, right? And we kind of became friends. We went back and forth. Eventually, I needed his help automating a certain part of my business. So I paid him $2,000. He set up an automations for me. And I remember after 2 weeks, we got on this onboarding call. And as he was showing me the Make.com automations he built for my company, which I think back then, Make.com had a different name. I think it was called Integromat or something like that. I was like, shit, man, this thing exists out there and I'm still selling appointment setting and closing solutions to businesses, wasting my time on the phone every day, talking with unqualified leads. If I knew how to build these automations myself, I would make so much more money. And fast forward 3 years, I saw how AI was evolving, how ChatGPT came into the picture, how a completely new business model formed around it, the AI automations agency model. So I decided to shut down Sales on Demand at a point where it was making me pretty good money every single month and start an AI automations agency instead. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you what Make.com is and how it works, how Make.com and AI are changing the business landscape as we know it forever. And there's going to be no return from that. You're going to see 95% of businesses on earth adopt up to 30% of automations in order to outsource most of their SOPs and processes. So there's tremendous opportunity there for people who know how to sell these solutions. Why productizing automations is so powerful. I'm going to walk you through the two most powerful skills that you want to acquire if your goal is to get rich in the AI era. And the 90s and early 2000s were obviously the internet era, but today I think we're in the AI era, and there is an AI revolution that is taking place right now with all the tools and the companies that are pumping out left and right. There's so much you can do with them to make money. I'm going to show you what are the best automations you can sell today. And then last but not least, what is the easiest way to sign automation clients for your agency? And I think that this is going to be by far the easiest way. I've tested multiple different methods for signing clients. And I think if you're completely new to this, you don't really have any experience, you have no testimonials, and the way I'm going to show you is the one that will actually work for you. So feel free to test it out. And listen, if you're serious about making the kind of money I'm making with Make.com and AI, make sure you stick until the end of this video. You don't want to miss out. Many of you click on my videos, you stick for like 3 or 4 minutes. I'm not that fucking boring, guys, so that's insulting. Make sure you stick until the end. Now, what is Make.com? So Make.com is one of those tools or platforms out there that they categorize themselves as a logic-based platform that helps businesses automate tasks, automate processes, or even entire workflows by connecting different apps together in order to save time and money and reduce manual labor. And I guess the best way I would imagine it is like a digital employee or a digital assistant that works in the background, and it executes certain things when certain things happen. So it has a trigger, and when that trigger gets pulled, it initiates an automation of actions in the background of your business. And I want to give you a simple example here. This is just going to be a very basic one. Obviously, you can build very complicated and complex automations to outsource almost any single task that you can think of. But let's say that you own an e-commerce store that receives orders daily. Every time someone places an order in your store, you want 3 things to take place. A, you want to save the order details in a Google Sheet. B, send a confirmation email to the customer. And C, send a message to your supplier in a Slack group in order to initiate the order, right? So you tell him, hey, this item, this customer ordered this item, please ship it to his address. And there are two ways you can go about executing this process right here. You can either do it manually with an employee, or you can have a Make.com automation that does the exact same steps as the employee will do. So for the manual process, obviously the employee is going to be on the lookout for a notification that indicates that a new order came in. You know, that sweet ching ching notification sound that Shopify makes when you're making money. Well, an employee is waiting for that. And once they see it, then they execute 3 steps. The first one is they manually update the order data in a Google Sheet, or it can be a CRM, whatever. The second step is the employee writes a personalized order confirmation email to the customer. Hey, thank you for your order, blah, blah, whatever. And then step 3, the employee sends a Slack message to the supplier in order to initiate the order. This is how it would be done manually, right? This is how many companies are actually doing it. And then the automated process that you can automate with Make.com, the way it would work is the trigger will be the automation gets instantly triggered via webhook whenever it receives a new data. And the webhook receives a new data when a customer places an order on the Shopify store. So every time an order is made, then that order data passes through the webhook and it starts the automation on Make. Now, the first step is obviously the automation instantly updates the order data on a Google Sheet without making any errors. Step 2, the automation writes and sends an order confirmation email to the customer. And step 3, the automation instantly notifies the supplier in Slack about the new order. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the interface of Make.com, this is how automations look like when you actually build them. Now, this is a little more complicated automation that I built in my own agency in order to automate the client onboarding process. So every time I sign a new client, instead of me having to send them the contract, wait for them to sign it, then invite them on a call, create the Google folders, go through the onboarding document and whatnot, all those actions are now being done by this simple automation right here. So this is how it's going to look like. Obviously, if you want to automate this example, it's going to be simpler, but I just wanted to give you a more insight. Now, let's actually compare the manual versus the automated process. And as you can see here, we have the employee on the left side and the automation on the right side. And I'm going to walk you through the pros and cons of each. So cost-wise, the employee is going to need an hourly wage or maybe a monthly or yearly salary. On the other hand, the automation charges cents per operation it executes. So the automation is much more cost effective simply because your employee is not going to be 100% productive for every hour of work that he puts in. Maybe he's productive 20 or 30 minutes of that hour. On the other hand, the automation is charging you based on usage. So you're only paying for it every time you're using it, and you're not even paying as much to it as you would be paying to an employee. Then speed-wise, employees, as we all know, if you've ever hired someone before, they're often slow, they might need days off, they might need holidays, and if you're a hardcore capitalist like myself, you don't like that shit. I want my employees to be working like a fucking workhorse like I work, and I don't tolerate days off or weekends off, none of that shit. The automation, on the other hand, it works instantly, it works always, it works at 2 a.m. in the morning, it never stops. So I like that about it. Then mistakes, employees make mistakes, all humans make mistakes, I make mistakes. The automation, on the other hand, it never makes mistakes because it's specifically tailored to execute a detailed, targeted process the same way every single time. Scalability, obviously, an employee can handle limited workload. If you want to scale, you're going to have to hire more and more and more employees. And it's a never-ending cycle where you build a massive mountain of employees and monthly salaries and all sorts of problems that arise from having so many people working for you. An automation, on the other hand, can handle unlimited workload. It doesn't matter if it's an action that it has to execute once a day or 1,000 times a day, it can do that without a problem. Management, employees need employees to be managed. So the more employees you have, the more employees you need to hire to manage those employees. And then the automation, it doesn't really need anyone to manage it. So up to this point, obviously the automations has more pros and it has cons. However, the last two sections, adaptability and dynamic tasks, this is where automations lose. And up to now, up to this point where AI wasn't really in the picture, you couldn't use AI to automate tasks or have an AI execute real world tasks in a business. Business owners would much more prefer to have an employee rather than an automation, because an employee is adaptable, is flexible to change. If you want to make tweaks to your operations or an SOP because you think that this way is going to be more efficient or it's going to be better, then an employee will instantly pick that up. You just explain it to him, he understands it. So training is instant. On the other hand, an automation is fixed on doing things in a certain way. And then every time you change something in your process, and you're going to need to change the automation itself, which requires expertise to do. And same goes with dynamic tasks, right? So every time something needs to be different from the previous time, an employee can obviously do that. If, let's say, a customer needs some sort of special packaging for the item he ordered, I'm using the previous example here because he's going to use it as a gift to his girlfriend, then obviously the employee can understand that. But the simple automation, the traditional automation, is not going to be able to do that. Up to now, as I said, certain processes couldn't be automated because they either required a human interaction, so they were dependent on relationships or personalization, or maybe a human needed to call the customer and have a conversation with them, or they had dynamic inputs and outputs. I gave you the example with special requests, or tasks required reasoning and decision making, right? The employee needed to draw conclusions and make a decision accordingly. So traditional automation, without the AI element into it, it was not able to automate this certain task. And most tasks that take place in a business, unless they are repetitive, like stuff you have your VA do or something, then an AI automation couldn't automate, right? So you would use an employee for like 95% of the tasks in your business because they were dynamic and they required a certain way of thinking, and they require decision making. And then for repeated actions, you would have used automations because they were the same every single time. They were easy to automate. However, the picture is completely changing. As I said, the business landscape in regards with AI and automations using Make.com is changing forever, because now you can actually combine the Make.com platform with different LLMs in order to analyze data, extract data, understand context, adapt to new situations, make informed decisions. And what this means, guys, for those of you who didn't really get it yet, is that automations can now be applied for tasks in any business situation that are not necessarily repetitive, tasks that require human thinking or human intervention. Well, now an automation with Make.com and AI can actually do that. It can also combine Make.com with AI voice agents to automate phone-related activities for both inbound and outbound cases. So the personalization and the human touch, the human interaction aspect is something that an automation can now also take care of. And of course, I'm not going to mention chatbots here, but it's kind of the same thing. You can also combine Make.com with task-based agents to build genuine AI employees or teams of AI employees that can execute virtually any task that you want them to execute behind a computer. There are cases, guys, I've seen, I don't really know how to build that myself yet, but I've seen people build AI agents that are able to go ahead, prospect for you, go check the personal accounts on social media of those prospects that they find, gather that information, analyze it, write a personal message, send it, have a conversation with the prospect, get them to book an appointment, then run the qualification appointment. I mean, it's crazy, guys. You basically build a complete salesperson using AI. And for that reason, for all those reasons that I just listed, I want to make a prediction. And, this is at least the way I see things, the direction we're moving right now, and the the way things are kind of shaping in the market, the potential is that the efficiency and affordability of AI automations is going to undoubtedly drive adoption by businesses, because businesses want to reduce their cost, improve customer experience. They want to become more efficient. So if they want to remain competitive and there is tech out there on the market that allows them to increase their competitiveness, then they're going to be forced to adopt it. Even if they don't want to, they're going to have to. Then we're going to go through a transitionary period where companies adopt AI and employees learn how to use it. And I think this is the stage we're at right now, where businesses, they realize that, okay, there is this tech out there that can help us do things better, faster, cheaper. They're not really quite up to the level of awareness yet to know about the capabilities of it, but they're starting to realize that, okay, there's something out there that we can use. The term AI is a term that a lot of businesses are almost afraid of because it's disruptive. So right now, this is the stage we're at between the first point and the second one. But after that, eventually AI automations are going to replace most human computer-based jobs. This is a fact, guys. I believe that within the next 10 to 20 years, every single job that is done behind a computer, an AI would be able to do that job as good as a human would. And who knows, maybe even better in some instances. But accounting, anything, prospecting, every single thing that you can imagine, every single manual process that a company executes on a computer, it might as well be executed by an AI employee. So humans will mostly work to oversight the process that the AI executes, and a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. People say that whenever new technologies disrupt markets, and experts say that, right? Then a lot of people lose their jobs. However, a lot more jobs are being created because of this new technology. It requires new skill sets to be operated, so people are forced to learn those skill sets, and then the new jobs are being created. I think in the case of AI, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, guys, and I don't think it's going to be creating as many jobs as people might think. So if that were to become true, and if you agree, if you see my train of thought here and you agree that, okay, this guy, he's onto something, because I feel the same way, then the top 2 skills of the century that you want to learn if you're going to make a lot of money during the next 5 to 10 years is, 1, knowing how to build AI automations using various no-code tools and Makecom to help businesses during these transitions. That's where you're going to make your fortunes, helping businesses adopt and integrate AI in order to become more competitive, spend less money, need to employ fewer people. This is where the massive opportunity is being created. So if you know how to build those automations yourself, combine them with AI and Make.com and all the different tools that exist out there, then you can make a lot of money, but only if you know how to sell these automations to businesses for thousands of dollars, because it's not enough to know how to build them. You also need to know how to sell them. I get a lot of DMs on my Instagram from people, maybe you DM me, you're watching my videos, you have a lot of technical knowledge, but bro, if you don't know how to sell your shit, then it doesn't fucking matter. So it's not enough to just have the technical know-how on how to develop these solutions. You also need to know how to sell them, and you need to become very proficient at selling, at speaking. English is not my first language. I learned how to speak English myself, right? So if you're from India watching this right now, or some country in Europe, and you think that I'm gonna have a hard time, because bro, I'm telling you, learn how to speak, learn how to sell, and you're gonna make millions over the next 5 to 10 years, because we're still very early. And if you do the right job right now and you position yourself, as the wave comes and the tsunami comes, it's gonna take you with it. Because as I said, we've seen the major wave of ChatGPT, and it kind of brought a lot of attention in the AI automations agency model. However, we're gonna see more waves like that. They're only gonna be bigger, they're gonna be more intense. So if you have the right positioning, you're going straight to the top. What about productizing automations? And the reason this is huge is because it allows you to build something once and then sell it forever. Remember, we're dealing with software here, right? We don't have any physical stock or any hardware. Everything is code. Everything is on a computer, which means that we can build it once and then sell it again and again and again. And the way you go about doing this is you identify a problem within a niche, whatever niche that you already have experience in, that's where I recommend you get started with. The second step is you build an AI automation that actually solves that problem, not solves that problem sometimes, or it's good, but it's not really that good enough for people or businesses to use it daily. No, you need to build an automation so good that actually solves the problem those businesses have. That's how you're going to add value in the market. And then step 3, just have to sell it unlimited times. All you have to do is copy the folder of the Make.com scenario, paste it in a new account, change the API keys, change the login access points, and boom, now you've duplicated an automation for another business. And I want to give you an example right now. And this is a real world example that I'm currently working with a client to build. So real estate agents often receive calls from property sellers or buyers at inconvenient times. Maybe they're doing a showcase of a property, they have an existing client right in front of them and who's interested in, let's say, buying a property, but their phone is still going to ring 3 or 4 times during that 1 or 2 hours that they're making their presentation. So they need an AI voice agent with certain Make.com actions that automates the inbound calls for real estate agents. The process that that voice agent is going to follow is obviously every time the phone rings, it answers the phone, it needs to talk in a certain way, it needs to understand what it is that it's supposed to do, its role. It needs to have a certain kind of personality, to have access to a knowledge base so it understands the real estate lingo and everything. But the process is it answers the phone, builds rapport, qualifies those leads. It has access to the MLS where all the properties are listed via the API, and it can make real-time requests and receive data so it knows about which property each person is looking for based on the address of that property, and then book interested people on an appointment with the agent on his Google Calendar. And this is a solution that every real estate agent needs, right? So if you build it once and it's actually functional, you do enough testing, you test it to the core, you make sure that it has no hallucinations, it doesn't make rookie mistakes, it works in every single real world scenario, then now you can go ahead, copy the Make.com files, upload them in a new account, change the API keys, and login access points, and now you just duplicated the automation. You can sell it again and again and again. You can even charge a monthly subscription fee for it. You can do whatever it is that you want. Now, I want to walk you through some examples of AI automations that you can sell, automations that can add a lot of value to businesses. And at the end of the day, I'm just going to list a few. However, there is not really an operation that you can think of that the current tools out there, at least the ones I know, cannot automate if you have the right expertise. So we have lead reactivation automation, where let's say a business has an existing database of 10,000 leads that they've acquired over the past 5 years through their ads or inbound or whatever, and they're not doing anything with them. You can set up a lead reactivation automation that reaches out to all those leads, trying to warm them up again and eventually upsell them something or lead to a sale. A client onboarding automation like the one I explained to you previously. A content repurposing automation, so many influencers are going to need that. Every time you upload a video on YouTube, you can take that video, transcribe it, and then based off that transcript, create different posts for Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and X, and then upload those posts. You can build something like that. A reservation booking voice agent for restaurants, hair salons, solar companies. I mean, every single in-person brick and mortar business. Appointment setter voice agent, very similar to the reservation booking agent. Cold calling voice agent, I've sold that before, where you give it a list of phone numbers and names and the agent starts cold calling. That can save you a lot of time. Many salespeople, they don't really like doing cold calling. Customer support voice agent, obviously that's evident. You can help with order tracking, you can help with disputes, anything you want. A personal assistant agent that basically is a personal assistant agent, right? It goes through your emails, it lets you know about priorities, it can pull up your to-do list, whatever. Task-based agents, workflow automations. As I said, there is not an operation that you can think of that you cannot automate. And I think the real money is in you identifying a very specific sub-niche that you know and understand deeply, figuring out what is the exact problem with the way things are currently happening, and then creating an automation that can actually solve that problem, and then productizing so you can sell it again and again. A lot of these automations are kind of like high level automations. You can break them down into more and more parts as well. But I just wanted to give you some examples so you can understand deeper how this Make.com X AI can actually add value to companies. And then last but not least, I'm gonna share with you the best way to sign your first client. Trust me, this works every single time. All you have to do is be stubborn enough to implement it and not quit. So the first step is you have to choose your outreach or marketing platform. Is it gonna be Facebook, LinkedIn? Are you gonna do cold calls? Are you gonna send cold emails, cold DMs? What are you gonna do? YouTube? Whatever, it doesn't really matter. Choose one outreach platform, and then in your campaigns, offer a free AI consultation to your chosen niche. That's how you're gonna tailor it. You're gonna package it as a free AI consultation where you're gonna educate the business on the current capabilities of AI and automations in the market and what kind of problems that can solve for them. So they get on a call. That's gonna be a free educational call, no strings attached. You educate the business on the different automations that can add value to them. And obviously at this point, you don't really know what their problem is or what kind of issue or pain they're trying to solve. So during that presentation, you're asking probing questions with the goal of identifying your client's problem. And once you identify their problem, you know that they are interested in a certain automation, then you pitch them the sales call, which is not really a sales call. You're not going to tell them that. You're going to tell them, hey, why don't we dive in? Why don't we set up an additional call where I can walk you through in more detail about how this automation can be applied in your business. And if you're interested, maybe we can integrate. That's one way you can do it. You can also offer it for free. If you're a real G, that's how you want to do it, and get a testimonial and then upsell them on different automations. But I think this is the easiest way for someone to sign his first client in the AI realm, especially if you don't have the sales experience like I have. I mean, I got into this industry having done 4,000 sales calls, having employed 12-person sales teams, right? So I'm not quite the complete beginner. I didn't start this business as a rookie. I had some experience. Obviously, there was a lot of things I didn't know about, mostly on the technical side of things. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I have an AI newsletter that you can join in the description below. If you need help with anything, shoot me a DM on Instagram. The link is in the description. I appreciate you for watching this, and see you on another one.